Patellar tendinopathy is one of the most common injuries among athletes who perform jumps, change direction, or engage in explosive movements. Although we often think of overload or poor technique, one of the less visible but most decisive factors is the imbalance in neuromuscular activation between the quadriceps and the hamstrings. When the rectus femoris dominates the movement and the hamstrings barely participate, the knee is left without proper dynamic control, and the patellar tendon is subjected to greater tension. This imbalance can perpetuate the injury and prevent a full recovery. Do you want to learn how to use electromyography to optimize your exercises and speed up recovery from tendinopathies? You can contact us through the link in the description and discover how to integrate this tool into your daily clinical practice. In this post, you will learn how to retrain the quadriceps hamstring synergy step by step, using exercise variables and validating changes in real time with surface electromyography. You should know that in patients with patellar tendinopathy, one of the most frequent findings is not in the tendon itself, but in how the surrounding muscles work. The quadriceps and the hamstrings should work together in every knee flexion extension movement. But when this synergy is disrupted, watch what happens. If you have an overactive rectus femoris, when this muscle takes on too much of the work, it directly increases the pull on the patellar tendon. It's as if the tendon is working non-stop, accumulating stress even during basic movements like climbing stairs. If you have a deficit in hamstring activation, the hamstrings act as natural brakes for the tibia and help stabilize the knee during support and load absorption. If their activation is low, the knee is left more exposed with less shock absorption and dynamic control. When the hamstrings don't work together with the quadriceps, the knee absorbs more impact, which accelerates tendon fatigue, increases joint stiffness, and heightens the perception of pain. This imbalance can be especially significant in patients who play sports involving jumping, running, or changing direction, where the rectus femoris tends to pull more and the hamstrings are unable to balance the tension. To retrain this synergy, it's not enough to simply add strength to the hamstrings in isolation. What really matters is modifying functional exercise so that the hamstrings are better integrated into the movement. The protocol is simple. Select a functional exercise that involves the knee, for example a lunge, and introduce technical variations that promote hamstring activation. Then, validate the results with electromyography, checking in real time whether the synergy has improved. Let's look at it with a practical example. The initial evaluation with electromyography during a lunge tells us this. The rectus femoris is activated much more than the biceps femoris. The quadriceps dominate the movement and the hamstrings barely participate. The result, direct overload of the patellar tendon. The first variable we're going to study, lunge with foot and ankle supination. In this case, the rectus femoris is still activated much more than the biceps femoris. There is hardly any change in hamstring involvement. Supination does not manage to redistribute the load in any significant way. Second variable, lunge with greater hip hinge. The rectus femoris is once again activated more than the biceps femoris. Here, there is better hamstring involvement during the eccentric phase and less dominance of the rectus femoris. Third variable, hip hinge, and now we add opposing friction force with a resistance band. The rectus femoris matches the biceps femoris. The hamstrings reach a level of activation similar to the rectus femoris, which results in greater knee stability, reduced load on the patellar tendon, and a quadriceps hamstring synergy. Fully optimized. Therefore, the lunge is an excellent exercise to retrain quadriceps hamstring activation, but it requires technical adjustments to be truly therapeutic. Greater hip hinge and the use of opposing resistance are the variables that most favor biceps femoris activation. Electromyography is essential to verify which variations work for each patient, avoiding reliance on their position. See you in the next post.